Okay, now we're in tutorial 7. We're going to start a new part, our new assembly. Here is our new part. We're going to select the front plane. We're going to hit sketch, normal to, and we're going to start a new sketch. We always start a new sketch with our construction lines. And then, okay, I'm going to start it similar to the last with a rectangle, just something that you guys are familiar with. Oopsie, I think I did the wrong kind of rectangle. I like my center point rectangle. Okay, I'm going to dimension it. You can get whatever dimensions you want. Let's do. Okay, I'm going to extrude it. This time I'm going to make it 1 inch. There we go. Now I'm going to make this time I'm going to make a table too, but I'm going to make the legs. First off, I want to show you a cool feature. If you go to the circle tool, you can select fillet. The routed thing, let me go back and show you that again. It's the second row. There's fillet and there's chamfer. Okay, and I'm going to make my, under here, you see where it says radius, I'm going to change that to 0.05 because I have a pretty small part. Once I change that, I can select any edge I want and it rounds it. See that? That's a little bit small. Maybe instead of 0.05, you might want to do 0.1. But you can see that. And I can go and I can do it again. And this time I'm going to try 0.1. And I can select some features. And you can see it rounds the edges, makes it nice and pretty. Okay. Now next I'm going to select the bottom edge. Excuse me. I'm going to hit sketch. I'm going to view normal to plane. And now I'm going to make a rectangular post or a square post. So here we go. I'm going to do a rectangle. I'm going to dimension it. I'm going to make this one 0.25 by 0.25. And it doesn't really map. And what I'm going to do is, to define it in space, I'm going to select, the corner and drag it over to the origin. I know you don't want it in that spot, but just drag it. It'll know where it is in space then. It'll be happy. It'll be fully defined. And then hit the circle and hit extrude. And let's extrude that, let's say 3 inches. And hit, but here, instead of add, I want you to hit select new. So under the extrude menu pop-up, right at the top, you have a choice, like that second thing, it says result body operation type. It defaults goes to add, but you want it to switch that to new, and you can see it changes the color. Okay, so now you have 2 different parts. Now look on the left, you have part 1, if you touch that, it's your rectangular top. If you select part 2, that's your leg, okay? Now, look on the bottom. You are in Part Studio. There's 2 tabs, Part Studio and Assembly 1. So tap on the Assembly 1 tab, and you can see, uh-oh, where'd my part go? We'll just go back to Part Studio and go back to Assembly. Okay, so now in the Assembly, you can insert parts. So if you go up to the top, you have the left arrow, the right arrow, and then you have, it looks like a piece of paper with an arrow going over the top of it. You're going to select that. That means insert. So now when you hit insert, it automatically asks you if you want to insert anything from your Part Studio. So yes, I want to insert part 1. So I'm going to touch on part 1 one time. And I want to insert part 2. So I'm going to touch on part 2 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to hit the check mark. And you can see that I have part 1 and 4 part 4s, but it only looks like I have 2 parts. And that's because the legs are all right on top of each other. So I can, on the left, select one of the parts by touching on in that left manager tree, or I can select it on the screen, and then I can go and just move it. Touch on the screen and move it. I can select another part. Then I have to double tap if I want to deselect something. I can check another part, move that, and I can keep moving parts until I can see all of them. Now the next thing is mating these parts. You want to be able to mate these in the right spot. So if you go to the next thing, next to the paper, select that little button. And these are mates. Mates is like, how are you going to glue or put the parts together? So let's just try a fasten mate. So when you do a mate, you have to select the face that you want to mate. So I select that face. And then a point that you want to mate. And so now you know on that part what you're planning on mating. Then you go up to the upper right hand corner. See how there's a little circle? It's like a little lock that's in orange. If you deselect that, you can rotate your part around, okay? And then I can zoom in on like the top of one of those legs. Now I want to select the face on this part that I want to do it, and the point. Okay, then I go back up to that little lock button again, and I rotate it around. It's close, but it's kind of needs to be rotated, okay? So now if I go on the bottom right, under Fasten 1, see where it says 2 entities selected, and then it says offset, and then under the offset it has an arrow and a little circle next to it. Click on the little circle. See how it rotates it? Wow, it rotated right into the right spot. You can also hit offset, and you can offset things in different directions, like that. Okay? So that's how you fasten. So you need to go through then and fasten all the legs in the appropriate spot. So that's it for tutorial 7.